her that the Supreme Court would be a place that actually reflected the lives of our people. So we miss her deeply. We're pained by her loss, but we're inspired by her. And we're going to talk about schools today. It's really important to remember this is a story of what New York City public schools mean, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a proud graduate of James Madison High School in Brooklyn. And the New York City public schools gave her some of that greatness and some of that strength. And she made us proud every day of her life. So we miss her. May she rest in peace, and may she guide us through her example. Now, everybody, that's a sad topic, but this morning, the Chancellor and I, the First Lady, we were given the opportunity to see pure joy, pure hope, pure possibility at the Mosaic Pre-K Center in Elmhurst, Queens, to see kids ready to get into that school and see their friends and get all the blessings of a pre-K education. Teachers, educators, staff, everyone ready to go, ready to serve those kids and families, excited to get back to work the way they know works best, right there in person with kids. Parents feeling such excitement as well. I talked to a number of parents, and the word I heard the most was excited. And I said, you mean the kid's excited? And the parent would say, no, I'm excited too, because I know this is good for my child. So there was an air of energy and spirit. And the Chancellor and I have had the pleasure of going to opening day many times, and it's probably one of the best days of the year, maybe the best day of the year, but this year was special. This year was powerful because we've had to overcome so much. First time our kids are going back into a school building in large numbers since the middle of March. And to see those children so engaged, so happy to be there, it was truly inspiring, truly inspiring. We talked with some amazing professionals, Beth Techverk, who is the director for early childhood there, and Nancy Calabrese, the assistant principal, and a lot of other great professionals. And all the conversations were filled with energy, focus, purpose. But one conversation sticks with me. A pre-K teacher named Sarah, and she used to have a different profession, and she decided she wanted to do something particularly rewarding, so she went into teaching just a few years ago. And she was out there expressing her enthusiasm, talking to her fellow teachers, talking about how great a day it was. At one point, she just said out loud, let's get this party started. There was that sense of like, we're doing something important here, we're doing something great here, let's do this, and it's going to be exciting, it's going to be fun, it's going to be positive. And I heard that and I said, there's the theme for the day. Something great is happening today in New York City. This week, 90,000 kids will go back into classrooms between 3K, pre-K, and our special ed classrooms in District 75. Next week, hundreds of thousands more. What we also saw was a real devotion to health and safety, a devotion to social distancing, a devotion to the temperature checks, all of the smart measures to keep people safe. And the masks, everyone was wearing a mask, and those 4-year-olds were wearing their mask with no problem at all. It's one of the things that was most striking. We saw them out there in front of the school for a while, in the school. They were wearing those masks. It was natural for them. That's going to be crucial to everyone's health and safety. Even 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds can do it. I want to thank all of the team at the Mosaic Center. I want to thank all the team at the DOE, everyone at the Tweed Building, all the educators and staff out in the schools. Everyone's working hard. But I also want to thank all the other agencies that are helping. Department of Health and Hospitals, Test and Trace, Buildings Department, Fire Department, you name it. School Construction Authority, many others are chipping in to help because everyone believes this is one of the most important things we can do for our children, our families, and our city. So as we get ready now to see a lot of kids coming back to school, here's a message to parents. You're being sent, or you have been sent already, forms to fill out every morning, the health screening forms for your kids. That means you check their temperature, and just give the status. It's really important to do that every single day. We'll make it easy. You can do it online. You can send in a piece of paper. Remember, every parent, we need you to do this. This is something we're requiring of every parent. Check your child's temperature in the morning. If they have unusually high temperature, please keep them home. Let's make sure they get well. But by doing that, we're going to help everything keep moving forward for everybody. Okay, so today and this week, we have 734 schools that are opening for live instruction, in-person instruction this week. 734 schools, and on top of that, 1,050 community-based early childhood education programs. So again, think about this. That's a huge number of schools up and running with kids coming in, educators ready. 734 schools, 1,050 community-based early education programs. So what does it take to keep building this out and keep moving? Well, first of all, we've all learned that sometimes the best thing to do is to have a war room, and the DOE has a great war room up and running. At the Tweed building, I visited with the folks in the war room. The visual I'm seeing here is of actually the Situation Room at the Buildings Department. That's a different thing. But the DOE war room, where the chancellor and his whole team gather together constantly to check on all the key needs, make sure each school has what it needs. They go literally school by school. And then on top of that, the Situation Room at the Department of Buildings. And this brought together a lot of professionals from key agencies, from DOE, from Health Department, from all Test and Trace, all of the agencies, all in one room, led by the Buildings Commissioner, Melanie LaRocca, who is a great leader at Buildings, but before that was a great leader at the School Construction Authority, knows our school system well. I want to thank all those agencies, DYCD, Youth and Community Development, also key player in this effort because of childcare. Everyone together in one room, when there's an issue, when there's a problem to be addressed, everyone can address it in common, and that's a great tool. And speaking of childcare, the childcare program also starting now, the Learning Bridges Initiative, free childcare, supervised learning for kids from preschool up to 8th grade. This is meant to help working families, to help families dealing with some of the greatest needs. It will be determined on a priority basis which families need the help the most, but this is now building out, again, free to all. We have 3,600 preschoolers who will be in the Learning Bridges program from the beginning. And families can apply, and as seats continue to open up, they'll be assigned to them. You can apply at schools.nyc.gov/learningbridges. Again, schools.nyc.gov/learningbridges. And if you have any questions about the status of your application for childcare, go to learningbridges@schools.nyc.gov. Now, let me turn to another important initiative that's all about supporting and helping our young people. And we know young people have been through so much. Chancellor and I have talked about this a lot. Very, very tough year, 2020, for the young people in New York City. And we're not going to ignore the challenges they're going through. We have to take them head on, and we have to protect this generation that's been through so much. And who's been through the most are children of color who have gone through this crisis in a disproportionate way and felt the pain of their families and their communities the most. And that's particularly true for young children of color, particularly young boys, because they have been put through so much in the crisis, but before, because of the challenges and problems of this society that we must address head on. One of the things we can do most is provide mentorship. Provide not just role models, but mentors who really provide support and guidance to children, and particularly young boys, to give them a sense of all of their greatness and all of their possibility. So there's a great set of initiatives that have been put together to make sure that we provide that support. And this program we're launching now is called the Mentors Matter Initiative. It says it all. Mentors matter. They make a huge difference in the lives of children. They elevate kids and give them hope. And this is going to be a difference maker for a lot of New York City kids. So here to tell you more about it, someone who's devoted to our children and their future, the Executive Director for the Young Men's Initiative, Jordan Stockdale. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a former East Harlow Middle School teacher, I can understand the challenges our students and families are facing during this time, during this crisis. We know that many Black and brown boys struggle with school and have the highest dropout rates in education and rates of educational disengagement. We know that mentoring, and particularly mentoring from adults who look like us, can provide a transformative experience that propels us to our potential. That's exactly what the Young Men's Initiative is about, helping our young people reach their potential through funding evidence-based mentoring and employment programs and programs to help our justice-involved brethren. Today's announcement, the Mentors Matters Initiative, has 3 parts. First, 100 Black men and YMI will partner to expand its Junior 100 program to at least 750 Black and brown male students this year. The program will provide mentoring and educational enrichment, as well as expose students to career opportunities and offer financial scholarships for post-secondary education. Second, we will expand CUNY Tutor Corps to offer academic tutoring and near-to-peer mentoring to 3,600 additional DOE students. CUNY students who are within the New York City Men Teach program will be prioritized for this paid opportunity. These students are all males of color who are succeeding in their college programs and who are ready to impart wisdom on a slightly younger version of themselves. Lastly, YMI will issue $500,000 in grants to local community-based organizations that offer tutoring, mentoring, and social-emotional support to at least 4,000 students during this difficult time. The application period for the funding opportunity opens September 21st and closes October 5th. You can learn more at nyc.gov/YMI funding.
Thank you very, very much, Jordan. Thank you for all you are doing. And everyone who's going to be a part of this initiative, just want to say thank you. It takes a lot of heart and a lot of love and a lot of commitment to help bring along our young people, but they feel that sense of investment and concern. They feel when adults believe in them. They really can tell. And they can tell when they are not believed in, and that's one of the problems, the negative signals that our society for too many years, decades, has sent to young men of color. This initiative is part of turning that around and showing they are loved and they are believed in, and it makes all the difference. So thank you. Thank you very much. Now, everyone, we talked about a lot of things going on with our schools and our young people, but now it's important to be reminded of something that affects all of us, the census. Look at this clock running right here, 9 days left. The census that determines so much of the future of this city, our communities, things that will affect your life directly. We only have 9 days left. Now, the census team has been fighting the most extraordinary odds in the middle of a pandemic, with the federal government trying to undermine the census, with the President of the United States trying to discourage immigrants from participating. All of this has been thrown at our census team, but this team is tough and resilient, just like New York City. They keep fighting back. They're doing an amazing job reaching people all over the city on the ground. Shirlane and I had the joy of being with the census team out in Canarsie a few days ago in Brooklyn. And it was a really exciting, positive experience, because when people felt the energy of the census team, they were willing to take the time to fill out that census. When they heard how important it was, they got involved. So we're doing that now all over the city. Now, New York City keeps moving forward. Now our self-response rate is at 60%. We have got to keep going. The national average is 66%. We got 9 days left to see how far we can go and to push farther. Now, here's an interesting fact. I mean, you can see on your screen there where New York City is this year compared to 10 years ago, when there was no federal government trying to stop the census, no attacks on immigrants and attempts to scare them off, no pandemic. You can see this team has gotten New York City almost to the point where we were 10 years ago, and they have still 9 days, and they're fighting hard to go even farther. But look at the rate for the country. Again, 66% now. That gap was much greater 10 years ago, and that's what matters. Remember, the census is graded ultimately proportionally. How do we do compared to the rest of the country really determines the levels of representation in Congress we get, the amount of funding we get. Again, don't think about it abstractly. Think about money for your kid's school, money for your subway line, money that makes sure people can get affordable housing. Think about the people in your life who need affordable housing and the federal money that comes in for that. It's all determined by the census. So how you stand versus the rest of the nation determines your share. 10 years ago, look at that, a gap of almost 14% between New York City and the nation. This time only 6%, and we were the epicenter of the crisis, and yet we've fought back. So kudos to the whole census team. But again, everyone, we've only got 9 days left. Everyone needs to help now. 9 days to go. The team is out across the 5 boroughs. They're taking all sorts of actions to draw attention to the census, get people involved. 100 different events and actions planned in the next 9 days, focusing on neighborhoods that have the lower response rates in the city. That includes Wakefield, Corona, Richmond Hill, Jamaica, East New York, Cypress Hills, Canarsie, and the North Shore of Staten Island. All those areas we're going to put extra attention into. So that means anywhere people are. At the subway, the bus, if they're at a shopping center, if they're at a food pantry, wherever people are, you're going to see the census folks out. And they're doing an incredible texting campaign, texting 750,000 New Yorkers, a digital campaign, TV, radio, a whole host of approaches, 25 different languages. I mean, this is an amazing, amazing effort. So again, everyone, you can make such a difference here, you yourself, by simply taking that 10 minutes to fill out the census. And if you want to help, us get this done and make sure the census comes in strong. A lot of people say, what can I do to help? How can I help New York City? Here's how you can help. You can join up to help us get people involved and engaged and get them to take the time to fill out that census. Go to nyc.gov/GOTC, nyc.gov/GOTC, and you can help with your family, with your neighborhood, to get people to sign up for the census, and we can go farther and we can make sure New York City gets our fair share. Okay, let's talk about our indicators. Number one, daily number of people admitted to New York City hospitals for suspected COVID-19 threshold is 200 patients, and today's report, 51. And the positivity rate among those patients is 11.5%. Number two, new reported cases on a 7-day average. Threshold is 550 cases. Today's report, 316. And number three, percentage of people testing positive citywide for COVID-19. Threshold is 5%. And look at that chart. Look how this has stayed so low thanks to your efforts. That's a beautiful representation of what the people of New York City have achieved. So today, 1% even, literally 1.0%. Let's keep it at that level or even drive it down further. We have shown we can do it. Let's keep going. A few words in Spanish. Hoy tenemos el primer día de clases en persona desde marzo. Nuestra ciudad ha puesto la salud y la seguridad primero para todos los estudiantes, maestros y personal escolar. Y recuerden que quedan 9 días para llenar el censo. Todos debemos participar y además recordar a nuestros amigos y vecinos de llenar el censo. With that, let's turn to our colleagues in the media. And please let me know the name and outlet of each journalist.
We'll now begin our Q&A. As a reminder, we're joined today by Chancellor Carranza, Commissioner LaRocca, Dr. Katz, Corporation Counsel Jim Johnson, Census Director Julie Menon, the Deputy Chancellor for Early Childhood and Enrollment, Josh Wallach, Jordan Stockdale, the Executive Director of the Young Men's Initiative, and Senior Advisor Dr. Jay Varma. First question today goes to Andrew Siff from NBC.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Last week, before you pushed the start of school back, I asked you how confident you were that things would begin on time, and you said, of course, things were going to open. We now know, after your meeting with the labor leaders, it got pushed. So I'm going to ask it again. with regard to next week? Now that you have the Situation Room, the Emergency Command Center, the new protocols, and the labor leaders' conversation, how confident are you that September 29th will be a go for the higher grades?
I'm very confident, Andrew. We have seen some really, really good results over the last few days. And this morning, strong liftoff, and you heard it's a huge number of schools and early childhood programs, and they're starting strong. So I feel very good about the trajectory we're on.